You are Locked On Falcons POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
All right, everyone, it's another Locked On Falcons postcast here on the Locked On Sports Atlanta podcast page on YouTube. Of course, I'm Aaron Freeman, host of Locked On Falcons, joined as usual by Jarvis Davis, one of the hosts of ATL Day Ones on the Locked On Sports Atlanta. Another Falcons loss, 19-16, seemingly a winnable game when you hold the opposing team to under 20 points. You know, we haven't heaped too much praise on the Falcons defense this year, but you know, they played their style of game, bend but don't break, forced the Steelers to settle for field goals. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but when you look at this game, Jarvis, you got to start with the struggles of the offense. The Falcons seemingly wanted to come out of this game throwing the ball, which is not their strength, and it kind of bit them in the butt. You know, like I remember the broadcast team on CBS today was like, Arthur Smith has a lot of confidence in Marcus Mariota, and he called the game like that in the first quarter. Like he had a lot of confidence in Marcus Mariota, and while I think Mariota hit maybe his first two passes, and then it was kind of all downhill from that point, and the Falcons offense really didn't get going until the second half when they really recommitted to running the football, but it was too little, too late. Jarvis, you know, the floor is yours, my friend.
Aaron, when you think about this game, right, because like I was talking to my co-host, Tanisha Batiste, who was, you know, up here in the press box with me during the game. I was just like, Arthur Smith has always been a guy that, hey, we know what we do well, and that's what we're going to do. Not so much in this game, because when you think about they passed the ball 16 times in the first half, and they only run it 6 times. Arthur Smith coached team only ran the ball 6 times in the first half. That is absolutely unacceptable when you think about the advantages that they had. And you saw that in the second half. When they were running football, I was like, oh, so Pittsburgh is susceptible to the run. And I think Arthur Smith kind of got ahead of himself because he wanted to take advantage of what the Pittsburgh can give up in the passing game, because there were a lot of missed throws. Yeah, I said a lot of missed throws by the quarterback. Because when you talk about that comeback route on the in the 2-minute drill going into halftime that he missed with Drake London, the player when he was in double coverage, and he had beat out double coverage, and he was threw it on Drake London was running on the inside, and he threw it on the outside shoulder 5 yards in front of him. And also in the end zone in the second half, when he had the inside position on the cornerback, and all he had to do was put it on him right there in the end zone. It was such an easy throw. And somehow he overthrows him by 2 to 3 yards in the end zone above him. A 6'5" wide receiver, not Olamide Zaccheaus, by the way. I'm talking about Drake London. How do you continue to overthrow big target wide receivers? I just don't understand it. So it's kind of like I was riding with Arthur Smith as far as with sticking with Marcus Mariota. I get it. I understand it. He's trying to win ball games, all that good stuff. But when you get outside of yourself, riding with Marcus Mariota, saying, hey, let's take advantage of these guys in the passing game. Hell no. And you see what happened at the end of the game. You went to the well too many doggone times. Minkah Fitzpatrick up there sitting right there like, oh, I know this dude didn't just try me and throw this ball. Like I didn't know he was going to throw this ball. And I know I'm going to catch it. And guess what? He didn't even run it in his zone. He said, like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need this pick six. I'm just going to step out of bounds and get on over there. So, yeah, man, it's like I say all to say, Arthur Smith, I understand why you stuck with Marcus Mariota. But, dude, don't forget who you are.
Yeah, Jarvis, I thought I was going to have to cut you off there because you were cataloging all the overthrows, and we be all day. You know, this be like
I know, and I still left some out there.
I think you left out about 12 of them.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I guess my only question for you, Jarvis, before we sort of flip the script and talk a little bit about defense, do you think today is, you know, we're going to finally get the quarterback change now that there's a bye week upon us? There's extra time to pause and reflect on the nature of this thing. You know, are we going to be talking about a quarterback change next week?
You know what? That is a really good question, right? Because I just laid out all those things as to why they probably need to move on. But at the end of the day, I think that if there's any chance, any percentage, it can be 0.00007. Like, I think Arthur Smith is going to stick with Marcus Mariota because at this point, I think it may be some ego involved. You know what I mean? Like, because hey, I'm riding with this guy. I get it, understand it. But now we're at the point where your chances of making the playoffs are slim to none, to be honest with you. Like, unless Tampa Bay finds a way to just lose out, you know what I'm saying? Looks like that's the only way you're going to be able to win games, because this was a winnable game. Like, you were in it, one down, one possession with a chance to win it at the end, and you weren't able to get it done. And for reasons, not because Pittsburgh just made plays, it's because you couldn't make the play that was called. You know what I'm saying? So I think right now, if you, and I believe like if you're gonna do it, this is the time to do it, right? Like, playoffs slim to none. You got an extra week of preparation, but it's really hard. In my interactions with Arthur Smith, he doesn't just seem like a guy that's going to say, like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and break down and humble myself and move on to Desmond Ridder and let's see what we got as we go along, as we wind this season down. I don't see that happening, Jack.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't see it happening. I hope it happens. I mean, there's every reason, for it to happen, but I just don't see it happening at this point.
Yeah, and my thing is too, like, I want to get your thoughts on this. Like, when you think about, like, do you think Arthur Smith, it's an ego with him as to why he's not gone to Desmond Ridder?
I mean, it's got to be part of it, right? Like, and then, like, I think how he called this game.
This dude up. Yeah.
I think how he called this game tells you where his head's at. It's like, like, I mean, from my perspective, here's how I see it, Jarvis. Okay, they come out throwing the ball, right? We've been talking about they got to evolve the offense. They got to push this thing. We got to see some progress, all that stuff. You see, like, itty bitty progress. Like, if you squint, you can see a little bit of progress at the passing game. And then, they come out of this game trying to throw the ball and it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, like, that should be the proof right there for you. If you're Arthur Smith, to be like, we haven't evolved this thing. We need a spark. We have a bye week. Let's evaluate this thing. Let's make that change.
Right.
And so, like, if he is not willing to make that change now, then then we do have to conclude it's got to be an ego thing, because we've been talking about this offense progressing and evolving for what was week 13 now?
Yeah.
For like 8 weeks, basically, since, they did their thing against the 49ers. Can they do more? Is it just only the running game, or do they have a little bit more than that? And the answer, now that we're in week 13, is no, they don't.
Yeah. With
this quarterback, and it feels like, and again, it'd have been one thing if, Marcus Mariota was constantly, he was under some pressure today, but it wasn't like TJ Watt was teeing off on him. It wasn't like Cameron Hayward was getting it. It wasn't like Alex Highsmith and Larry Ogunjobi were absolutely dominating this offensive line. He had time, and he just missed throws, and he just kept missing throws, and he kept missing them high the same way over and over again. And so I just go, like, if you're not willing to make the change now, then it is 100% ego at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because that's the type of thing that's what I don't like. I don't like coaches doubling down on pride, like having too much pride, because at the end of the day, like, you say you're going to make decisions to do what's best for your team. Go ahead and do what's best for your team. Because Drake London even kind of touched on it a little bit this week, leading up, like, about getting the rock and being able to get the football, and he got the football. But there were so many opportunities that he could have had to be able to take advantage of them by making plays. When the ball was in his range, was a catchable ball, he caught the damn thing and made plays. So it's just, at some point, you got to say, man, forget my ego. I know that's really hard for a head coach in the NFL and the play caller, right? So, because there's two different people, right? There's a head coach and there's a play caller. So, and he has to kind of switch those hats back and forth, throughout the games. So I think that with all that ego involved, man, like, at some point you don't have to humble both positions. You don't have to humble both of yourselves, right? You know, if I can speak at two separate people, like as a play caller, yeah, keep your ego. I don't care about you having an ego as a play caller, but as a head coach, you gotta say, you know what, it's probably best for my team, you know, that I get this guy in who I feel like that can make those throws. Like I feel like Desmond Ridder can make those throws because we drafted for a reason, right? You know, like all of a sudden he starts sucking in practice before, you know, when y'all brought him in. I don't believe that's the case. Like we saw him in preseason, he was fine. You know, he made some nice throws. Like, and there were some players that I talked to in preseason. They were just like, he has a nice arm. And they kind of pause for a second. And I know what that means. Like, you don't want to say in comparison to anybody else, but you just want to give your teammate a comment because you understand what he brings to the table. So, yeah, man, head coach Arthur Smith, stop playing. Stop playing.
Yeah. Well, Jarvis, you know, we spent all of our time talking about the quarterback as usual. So,
yeah, man, like, what else have to talk about, man? Yeah. The defense only gave up 19 points.
Yeah.
What do we ask for, right?
Any individual defensive players you want to say stood out to you watching the game today?
Man, AJ Terrell, man. Oh my gosh. Like the plays that he made, the forced fumble that he had that should have stayed a forced fumble, the coverage, every time that Kenny Pickett came his way, you know, for the most part, it was either the incomplete pass or he was making the tackle and putting the guy right where he caught the ball. So, and that's all you can ask for. Yeah, I think the man is really good, and he deserves to have people that can get to the quarterback, so he maybe can force some throws so he can start getting some picks. Yeah, but I will point this out, though. I did not like all those missed tackles. Like, can we stop with guys running through tackles? And Richie Grant, like, is he okay? Like,
but Najee Harris was cooking today, so you know,
right, like his head's still ringing. He wasn't the same ever since that play. That man literally bounced that man's head off the turf. What's going on here?
He got a couple.
Good, but golly, man, like,
yeah, he got a couple of folks. He got Rashawn Jackson on one of them stiff arms too. So, yeah, it was tough. It was tough, but you know, again, the defense did a lot of bending, but they. You know, they were forcing field goals.
Right? That's what we expected coming into the season, right? Yeah. Bend but don't break. And they 19 points. You should be able to win games in the NFL if your defense only give up 19 points.
You know, especially when your offense like 2 weeks ago was like top 5 scoring offense in the league, right? I don't know. But
not progress, but
regress. Yeah, last I checked, it was 14th after being top 5. Now I don't know what they're going to be after today, so they'll probably be below average. So. Yeah. Anyway, what devolve is what they're doing?
Right, like devolve, digress? No, not digress. Regress? Yeah,
regress. Yeah. So Arthur Smith, you know. We'll sit here. We'll wait. I mean, you don't have to. I guess you don't have to announce post game immediately that you're going to Desmond Ridder. You got a couple of days here. You got a couple of days. We'll give you a couple of days. Yeah, you know. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see if the Falcons have made a quarterback change in a couple of days. Right. Obviously, we got a bye week, so no postcast next week. So Jarvis and I will recharge the batteries. We'll be here all week long during the bye week. On Locked On Sports Atlanta, Locked On Falcons, covering this game as well as sort of what other changes we need to see for the Falcons down the stretch coming out of their bye week. And of course, we'll have you covered there. Guys, really appreciate you tuning in for another postcast here. That will do it for us here for the Falcons on another Locked On Falcons, Locked On Sports Atlanta postcast.
We'll see y'all.